Buying the right property in 2026 will shape your wealth for life, and I'm about to show you how. For most Australian property investors, the hardest part isn't getting into the market, it's choosing an asset that actually compounds. And here's what most people don't realize. The wrong property doesn't just underperform, it traps you for 7 to 10 years with zero equity to move forward. Over the past 18 months, we've helped property investors analyse hundreds of potential purchases across Australia. What shocked us was how many people were able to buy properties based on familiarity or yield and ignoring fundamentals that actually create long-term wealth. And that can mean the difference of $200,000 in equity. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, I'll show you the 3 non-negotiables every property must have in 2026. Then I'll give you the inside filter most buyers miss that separates scarce assets from stagnant ones. And finally, I'll walk you through the 5 red flags that permanently trap investors for a decade. Let's get into it. If you don't think a single property in 2026 can define how your wealth compounds over the next decade, let's start with the maths most people miss. Let's say an investor buys a $650,000 property this year. They choose an asset that grows at just 3% per year because it's an oversupplied area or it's investor heavy with low owner-occupier demand. After 7 years, they've made $138,000 in growth. Now, on the same budget but a different asset, you buy in a tightly held owner-occupier suburb with constrained supply and strong infrastructure growth. That property grows at 7% per year. After 7 years, you've made $354,000. That's a difference of $216,000. And here's the kicker. That extra equity is what leads you to buy your second property. The first investor is still stuck while you're compounding your wealth. This is what I mean when I say the property you buy in 2026 determines your next decade and even beyond that. You're not just buying a house, you're buying time, options, and leverage for the future. So, how do you make sure you're in the second group? It comes down to what we call a foundation asset. And there are 3 non-negotiables that separate a foundation asset from everything else. A foundation asset is a property that does 3 things. 1, it grows without you needing perfect market timing. 2, it holds value through a cycle, so you can afford to keep it for 7 to 10 years. And 3, it provides enough growth to extract equity for your next purchase. Here are the 3 non-negotiables when it comes to pinpointing a foundational asset. Non-negotiable number 1, scarcity. The property must have limited supply or unique attributes that can't be easily replicated. That means either land constraint, like a tightly held suburb where nothing gets built, or asset level scarcity, like a corner block, a house with a large land component, or boutique apartment blocks under 8 units in a premium location. Scarcity is what protects you when the market slows. If supply can flood in, your asset competes with 50 others. If supply is constrained, buyers compete for your asset. Non-negotiable number 2, owner-occupier demand. This is the big one. You want real families competing to live there, not just investors looking for yield. Why? Because owner-occupiers are the price sitters. They pay more because they're buying a lifestyle, school zones, commute, and community. Investors buy on numbers. If the market turns and investors pull back, owner-occupier suburbs hold their own. Investor-heavy pockets drop first. So here's how you check this. Look at the percentage of owner-occupiers versus renters in the suburb. Aim for above 60% owner-occupier. Then check days on market. Under 45 days is healthy. Over 75 days is a warning. Finally, look at rental vacancies. Under 1.5% is tight, while over 2.5% is a red flag. Non-negotiable number 3, finance friendly. Banks need to see your foundational asset as low risk and easy to value. That means established houses in proven suburbs, not off the plan developments where the bank applies a discount. It means avoiding properties near high voltage power lines, flight paths, industrial zones, or flood-prone areas that limit your borrowing capacity or resale liquidity. The best asset in the world doesn't help if the bank won't lend on it or you can't sell it when you need to move. Now, here's the inside move most buyers miss, the value add potential. The right property in 2026 isn't just about buying well. It's about buying with a clear path to force equity growth if the market slows. That could mean cosmetic renovation potential where you can add $50,000 to $80,000 in value with paint, flooring, and kitchens. It could mean a granny flat or dual income setup where you boost rent and hold more comfortably. Or it could be a corner block or a large block with subdivision potential down the track. But here's the key. It has to be minimum viable value add. Don't buy a renovation project that needs $200,000 in structural work unless you're experienced. Instead, buy something that's livable now, but has a clear, affordable upside, which you can execute in 12 to 24 months. This is where your wealth multiplies. If the market gives you 7% growth, that's great. But if you force an extra $60,000 through smart improvements, you've just supercharged your equity position without waiting for the market to do the heavy lifting. Red flag number 1, chasing negative gearing over growth. I see this all the time. Investors buy high yield properties in low growth areas because their accountant told them to maximize deductions. But here's the truth. A $5,000 tax deduction doesn't make up for $50,000 in lost equity. Growth and equity pay your bills in the long run, but tax deductions don't. Red flag number 2, buying in oversupplied markets. If you're looking at a suburb and you see 500 identical townhouses going up, or a CBD with 8 new apartment towers under construction, that's not scarcity, that's supply risk. When all those completions hit the market at once, you're competing with every other seller. Prices stagnate, days on markets blow out, and you are stuck. Red flag number 3, ignoring micro location. Think same suburb, different streets. Even this can have a completely different outcome. You want quiet local streets, not backing onto a main road. You want walkability to shops, schools, and transport. You want distance from power lines, industrial zones, and known flood areas. Here's a micro-location filter you can apply to every property. Street quality and pride of ownership, walkability score, distance from noise and hazards, flood and fire risk history, and school catchment areas. Red flag number 4, buying without a borrowing strategy. This is the silent killer. You buy your first property, max out your borrowing capacity, and structure a loan in a way that makes buying your second one impossible. You need to plan your loan structure for properties 2 and 3 from day one. That means working with a broker who understands investment sequencing, not just getting you the lowest rate on property 1. Red flag number 5, listening to headlines instead of data. Mainstream media's job is clicks. So those words like boom, crash, and doomed are all designed to get engagement. Your job is to follow the fundamentals like credit availability, forced selling, supply versus demand, and asset quality. If you make decisions based on fear or hype, you'll either overpay in a boom or sit out during the best buying windows. Avoid all this by buying based on fundamentals, not feelings. Have a clear strategy, run the numbers, check the data, and don't let FOMO or fear drive your decision. You now have the framework to buy the right property in 2026. Scarcity, owner-occupier demand, finance friendly, and a clear value add path. You also know the red flags that trap most investors. But here's the thing, knowing the framework is one part. Applying it to your specific budget, your borrowing capacity, and your local market is where most people get stuck. If you're serious about buying your foundation asset in 2026 and you want someone to help you shortlist locations, run the numbers, and avoid the traps, we've left a link in the description to book a strategy call with our team at Invest and Grow Property. We'll walk you through your situation, show you what's possible, and map out your next steps. No pressure, just clarity. And if you want to know what you can expect from the property market in Australia over the next decade or so, make sure you watch our long-term outlook video. I'll see you in the next one.